Welcome to Real Talk in ELT, the podcast that talks about the reality of teaching English. Rudy's just coughing and just, Are you good, sir?
I muted my mic.
I know.
Kelly,
But are you good
he's
to
been
go?
coughing for 4 years. Since I met Rudy, you gotta check that cough, man.
I feel like you have to go to the doctor. You cough a lot. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I know. I was just teaching. I've been
He's been teaching the whole day.
I've been using my voice since 8 in the morning today. So yeah, that's why I'm coughing, and it's super dry. Okay, I'm not gonna cough anymore.
I'm just gonna explode. It's fine, no big deal. Okay, ready? Welcome back to another episode of Real Talk in ELT. I'm here with André and Rudy again. The masterclass of nerddom is going to happen tonight, and I'm so excited. So do you guys want to introduce yourselves quickly? What you do, what your specialty is?
All right. I think you should go first, Rudy, right? No.
Me? Okay, yeah, I can do that. So hello, everyone. My name is Rudy Mattiello. I'm a cognitive linguist, and I study the mind and how mind and language are intertwined, and I'm a super nerd.
I think I'm basically the same, Kelly. So we can move on, I kind of do the same thing in a way.
Okay,
but
go ahead, do yours.
I actually look at it's not really cognitive linguistics, but it's about cognition and language, so it's pretty much there. And I do look at stuff related to the brain and the mind and how we learn, and I'm a nerd too, and I have a bunch of things to prove that if you need proof,
I feel like this is like Nerds Anonymous, like, hi, my name's Rudy and André, and I'm a nerd. Like when they start the
But the thing is, we're not trying to get rid of our nerdiness. So
no, please no, because it's helping everybody. So
it's like self acceptance. Like, yeah, I'm Rudy, I'm a nerd. So yeah, good for you, Rudy. Good for you, André. Good for you, Kelly. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
Well, I didn't put myself in that group yet, but I will.
You're a nerd, aren't you?
You're a nerd.
I feel like I'm getting there. Yeah. So, nerddom aside, here we go. So, I invited you guys here because, well, I respect both of you, and I think you guys have a lot to say, and I also wanted to know nothing about what we're going to talk about today. So just to see how that goes. Well, and because I trust both of you to not make me feel absolutely terrible about how much I know or how much I don't know. But the idea was that I'm going to be like a listener, kind of like the fly on the wall, and I get to ask you guys questions that I think most people are probably going to ask you, since you guys go off into these really bizarre tangents. Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Should we tell her, Rudy? Because we kind of planned, but it's probably going to happen.
Guys, I have no idea. I mean, like literally no idea what's going to happen.
Yeah, we kind of like came up with this idea like 3 days ago on the weekend. I actually don't remember when we came up with this idea, but the thing is, we came up with this idea like Kelly has invited us, and she I mean, are we gonna just show up and start being nerds or do what we do? So we thought that maybe this wouldn't be like too cool. We wanted to surprise every one of you, and so what you're going to see, watch, listen to right now is the birth of an episode of Chá Pedagógico.
Yeah.
So that's how we do that.
That's why we hijacked your show.
Yeah, we're going to come up with a show together with you guys. So yeah.
Did you notice the mugs? Huh? See, we got our mugs here. This is how we
you didn't tell me I just have a cup. Guys. Oh, come on. Okay, I'm excited. All right, so let's do this.
We have to keep it a secret, right, buddy? Because, that's the thing. We get together to plan the Chá Pedagógico episodes, and we talk about all kinds of crazy things. You have absolutely no idea. Like, we have crazy insights, right, Rudy? Yeah. And some of it we're not going to touch some stuff because this is for family and anyway.
Definitely not for family. I mean, I just
Not
said
for
shit,
family,
so
okay.
like
it's PG. It's PG rated. It's PG rated.
Is it?
Right.
I don't know. Well, it's going on YouTube, so yeah, it has to be PG rated.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah,
all right.
True.
So what do we do to plan Chá Pedagógico?
We just talk and have
Yeah,
fun.
So one of the things we did. So let's go back to Brastiço, São Paulo. That was in July, right?
It was.
And then so basically it was
Feels like so long ago.
I'm so lost right now.
It's like a couple months.
Well, it was almost 3 months ago.
3 months ago.
I guess so.
And then so basically what we did, we were pretty hungry, right? After the last day, was it? And then we decided to go out and then grab something to eat and have a couple of drinks, right?
This is where you had the infamous someone had taken a picture of you two drinking whiskey, right?
I think it was Fabi Moliterno, wasn't it?
Fabi, we actually photobombed her picture, we were in the back and we were having shots of cachaça because we created a stupid game because I was doing I was talking about my book and the whole Greek thing behind the book and Socrates. Mm-hmm. And I think it was Luis who noticed that I kept saying, that's a Greek word. That's a Greek word, like paradigm, paradox. They're all Greek words, right? Uh-huh. And then we said, why don't we have a shot for every Greek word we say? And that was not a very good idea. But then...
How many bottles did you go through?
I don't know. The thing is...
I don't remember. Do you remember, man?
We got to the bar. It was about 8 p.m., 7:30, 8 p.m. And we left the bar after midnight, after hours. So
so
you were feeling good.
No, but the thing is, that's the point. That's the point. I mean, of course, we drank a lot, but we also waited a lot because they had amazing burgers, amazing fries. So the food kind of like soaked up the whole alcohol in our metabolism. So
as long as you keep eating, right? You don't get
right. Okay.
So the idea was that André and I were having this conversation about how the image provides a lot of linguistic information, and sometimes when we want to explore the listening skills of our students, and we provide them with image, like videos, for instance. Maybe we're not exploring the full potential because when you have the image, you consequently remove not the creativity from our students, but the creativity from our students because they have the image. So the whole fantasizing or the whole mental representation thing is lost. So that was the starting point of this conversation that we had almost 3 months ago.
Yeah, and then I started talking about Hitler for some reason because but there was a point, So we were talking about.
I don't know how that was a big jump. Let's go back. We got to connect some dots here.
There is a theory, I think, that says that if you talk long enough about anything, somebody's going to mention Hitler, right? But I heard that. But I was talking about how Hitler used his propaganda machine through the radio, with Goebbels and all of that, and how a lot of the stuff that we do in the classroom today relies on imagery, so you have videos and we try to keep, especially if you're teaching kids and teens, right? Because we want to keep them engaged. But are we practicing or helping them practice their listening skills if they have very nice pictures to rely on?
Can I add to this?
Sure.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I was in a tutoring session with some CELTA people, and they were observing a lesson, and I was running it, and so I wanted them to do lesson observation, and they had to see what was going on and reflect on the teaching practices. And one of the things that kept coming up was because the teacher was in this very small classroom. I think it was probably somewhere in Europe, because because of the variation of students that were there, and there was a lot of Eastern European accents that I could identify. So I was like, oh, it's somewhere in Europe. And she was using just paper. It was like a larger kind of like a legal size paper, and it had one picture on it. And she was using a stereo and a CD. And okay, so which is fine. I mean, because she was in the actual classroom. And the teachers that were observing it are doing an online CELTA, and they were very, very critical and said, I would have used a projector, I would have used this, I would have used that. So it kind of connects that there's this automatic that they have to have these big visuals, they have to have these pictures.
Exactly.
And really the lesson that the teacher was giving was phonology. It was connected speech.
So why this teacher didn't need to use any visual resources. So
to facilitate, comprehension. But that's the thing. But then is that a listening type of activity, really, like purely listening?
And not only this, André, because the thing is, when we have imagery, of course, we're going to activate the areas of our brain because we're seeing things. But when we don't, we also do that. Yeah, you got Hannibal. Oh, okay, great.
Yeah, Hannibal.
Oh my God, I'm so excited. Hannibal's on the podcast.
This is Hannibal.
To show the visual cortex.
Yeah,
the
occipital lobe. The occipital lobe. Yes. So, but the thing is, when we're processing or when we're exposed to languages, we also activate that part of the brain and several other areas of the brain. But why? Because we're activating that based on what we think things are. And it's so interesting because just the other day I was reading a book, and I was preparing myself for my courses, cognitive grammar and all these things. And on the pages that I think not the very first page, but the very first pages of the book, the author says, imagine a polar bear. And I was reading, okay. And now, imagine a polar bear trying to hide in the snow. And then, now, imagine that a polar bear trying to hide in the snow, he put his paw or his hand or whatever in front of his nose. Okay, great. How do you know all these things? I mean, when I was reading all those things,
imagining all of those things, by the way,
exactly.
I saw the polar bear, man.
Because we're seeing a polar bear, because we've seen, not physically, we saw a polar bear, but we know what a polar bear looks like. And why do we know that he did this? And we know that because we know that the nose, a polar bear's nose, is black and it's not white. That's why we do that. So all these pieces of information come up. But we don't have any visual resource to do that other than our own minds. So that's the whole thing, the whole processing and the whole being exposed to language is all about.
We have to tell Kelly what happens now, So imagine Rudy is talking about something like that. And then I go, yeah, that's perfect. And you know what? We can connect that with, and then I start talking about prior knowledge, or multiple representations of, content, and using all our senses and Piaget and schema and all of that. Because how do you know?
There is no learning style, right?
Exactly. So there's no learning style.
Multiple input,
multiple representation, multiple inputs. Exactly.
Right.
That's what I talked about here, a couple of months ago. But that's the thing. So we basically try to connect stuff so he's talking about a polar bear, and and we started with the whole idea that maybe what we're doing in the classroom is not listening purely, because we're mixing with a lot of images and all of that. So that's, I don't know if you guys get the same feeling I do, but don't your students complain about not understanding, or when they're talking to people out in the real world, listening is pretty hard. And then I ask myself, maybe we're not providing the best type of listening, because now we are in this era of, lots of images everywhere, TikTok and Instagram, right?
Yeah, and I've
So
also
have you ever
heard this.
thought about that?
I have, and I actually have heard a lot too of I want the, there's it's about wording of things that people, instead of saying engaging, they're saying
Yep.
entertaining. And
Yeah.
that's actually quite because entertainment we obviously associate with Netflix and social media and all the things that we see visual. We are visual creatures. I mean, humans
Yeah.
in general, we like to see
Yeah.
visual things, but at the same time, we have to also think that we're maybe doing a disservice. And I also would want to say that engagement does not necessarily mean having fun all the time. It can be extreme amounts of focus.
Somebody said it. I like it.
Finally.
Yay!
We're not. Hey,
I
dude.
feel like I'm being accepted to the nerds.
We're not alone. We're not alone. Finally,
You're not alone, right? We have to be effective, not fun all the time.
Exactly.
Fun is great.
Yeah.
Whenever possible, but if it's not effective, don't sacrifice effectiveness for fun. That's what I tell my students. Yeah.
Yes, and the whole conversation actually started when we shifted the conversation when we were there, and like the radio stations. I mean, radio stations were amazing back in the days because people didn't have the visual resource in order to think or imagine what was going on or to see whatever was going on. And I remember my parents talking about the radio era, and they said, "Oh, the first time that the TV, or when the TV came to Brazil, the very first time, and I saw some of the stars that I used to listen to on the radio. I was like, so that's what you look like. Oh, that's what she looks like," because they had to use their creativity or their mental representations or their creativity in order to generate these mental representations through radio stations, through the radio. And that's what language is all about. Yeah,
Can I just jump in? Because the when you were talking about that, Rudy, I was just thinking of Orson Welles, the War of the Worlds.
Yes.
Do you remember when that? I mean, obviously, we don't remember when that came out, but we remember the stories of this because it was so
people
vivid.
Actually believed the story. Right?
Yes,
they started flying. I mean, leaving their homes because there was an alien attack. Right,
but it was it was from language. It wasn't. I mean, they didn't see anything. Nothing was happening. There was nothing going on outside. It was just words, and it was so believable, and they could create this whole scenario in their head. So it's really not necessary to have visuals are nice, but
sure, but that's the thing. I mean, I'm not saying that we should that using visual resources in the classroom is a sin.
No, not at all.
Not at all. That's not what we're saying. We're just saying that in order to explore the, in my case here, explore their mental representations and to see how far their minds can go into these mental representation, into the construction of mental representations. Try to do that from time to time. Remove the visual resources, use only the language and see how it works, see how it goes, and see if maybe they are going to have an overlap of mental representations, meaning that, I thought about that before, but, oh, yes, that's what I thought, or that's what I had in mind. And then they're going to not just overlap their representations, but they are going also to overlap the language.
Man, think about, so again, what Kelly said had a lot to do with what I meant by Hitler. Because, with the propaganda on the radio.
We went back twice. Can we just mark that down, Rudy? Hang on.
Because it's a very important example.
We're going to be canceled, dude. We're going to be canceled.
You can manipulate people's state, emotional state and mental representations just through sound, So you listen to the propaganda over and over and over and over. And, Germans, they were in a vulnerable emotional state after the war. of course, they were looking for someone to blame. So you just say the right words and you add some effects and you have a great speaker. And this is going to influence what you believe in, right? And the same principle can be applied to neuro-linguistic programming, which, by the way, most of it's BS, actually, to be very honest.
Oh,
honest,
okay.
come on.
So, see,
But
there's going to be some
that's the
people that
thing.
listen that hate you, but
Yeah,
okay.
but that's
come on,
okay.
folks. It doesn't
But
work like
it's true. It's
Come on.
true. It's true.
You can we change people's mental representations by changing the words in their brain? Like that's what they say. I mean, of
Yeah.
course you can change people's reality, but there are issues that are so deep that you need therapy. Just go to a therapist. It's not going to don't go to one
I
of
need
the
therapy all the time.
conference calls, pay $5,000, and then listen to a coach, and then no, go to a therapist. Okay, that's going to be much more effective long term. But I think there's this thing that we have to acknowledge, that we can and we should be using more sound, let's say, to affect people's mental states and mental representations. And I think this is kind of the magic that that we are losing. I read Harry Potter, so reading and listening, they're receptive skills if you think about it, right? Because we receive information through reading and listening. So it's input. And once you have an illustration of Harry Potter, or you watch the movie with Daniel Radcliffe, that's all I can think of. So they basically destroyed my imagination because they created the character for me. And so that's the thing. What we're saying is maybe we should go back to the roots of actually reading stuff and listening to stuff without images, because we have images everywhere, right? Yeah.
Well, the when you were talking about, oh God, we're gonna get canceled.
See, now
you're talking about Hitler. yeah. Right.
So I started with Hitler, and then
no, but
somehow,
but there was this thing about that I saw, and it was, God, I was in university. It was years ago, but they were looking at, they put sand or paint or something on speakers, and they played Hitler, and then they played other different sounds, and they had the patterns that came out of it in the sand or whatever that material that they had put on top, because of the waves, the sound waves that came out, and it turned into like these patterns and stuff. And if you think about it, like prior to written text, prior to written language, we had oral tradition. And that was super, super powerful. And that created, I mean, that was the birthplace of society. If you think about it, was just us, communicating with each other verbally, and sometimes not even verbally in like what we consider like sentences now in terms of like musicality and sounds.
Storytelling, rhymes, and all of that, right?
Yeah. That's the whole basis of cultural heritage. Cultural heritage comes from shared knowledge. So, and as a matter of fact, writing came for that, because some cultures were being completely lost because they didn't have any document to actually share it with communities or whatever. And then they said, oh, okay, so we better find a way to, have this later for future generations. And they said, oh, why don't we just write stuff? And they started with some very super old emojis called hieroglyphs. Those are super old emojis. And then they evolved to the language, or to written language as we know it today. But that's
now they're comic books, huh? Come on, man!
They're here. They're here.
Yeah, you got a lot of comic books.
They're here. They're very close. But even comic books, if you think about comic books, they also comic books, they come with the with imagery. But now that we have very resourceful studios, movie studios, film studios, and whatever, the casting of certain actors for certain characters, for certain roles, some people are like, oh, wait a minute, no, but that's not what this character looks like. So, for example, Wolverine. I'm a Wolverine huge fan. So
you even like a little. You even look a
He's
little
starting
like
to look
him.
like
Yeah,
him.
you're,
Yeah.
you're starting to look like Wolverine.
I'm gonna take this as
I
a
heard he's going
compliment.
to be back.
Yeah,
He's
he
going to
will.
be back
I mean,
next
Hugh
year. So
Hugh
yeah,
Jackman is coming back. Yeah,
he's
but the
coming
thing
back.
is, but that's the thing. Hugh Jackman is a super tall guy, and Wolverine is shorter than
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
So some people were like, "Oh, wait a minute. So why is this guy going to be Wolverine? Well, Wolverine is not that tall, and this actor is super tall. Why? Because when you're reading comic books, you also, even though we have the imagery, we still use our imagination. We still create mental representations for certain things, for certain actions. I remember the very first time that I saw Wolverine claws getting out of his hand in the theater. I was like, whoa, that's exactly how I imagined that when I was reading the comic books. So that was the whole point of this conversation.
So the movie made a nerd happy.
I just can imagine.
Definitely,
like
for
the
sure.
physical reaction to this, like, oh,
no, I was,
and
yes,
people are probably like,
because
who is
I can
this?
imagine
How
Rudy.
old were you at this point?
That was 1999, man.
Yeah,
The first
2000. Yeah, the
X-Men.
first X-Men
Yeah,
movie,
this
right?
like
So it was like
it was released in
23.
2000.
Yeah, 23 years ago.
We know a lot of useless.
39.
Should I say
So that would
You
be.
can, it's fine.
Yeah. Can we curse? Yeah, we haven't cursed yet, dude.
We haven't cursed yet. I said
job.
BS because I was being
Yeah,
diplomatic, you know.
that's fucking awesome. I mean,
Well, we're gonna be censored now.
yeah,
I don't know.
That's okay, right?
Yeah,
I don't know
maybe
how
not.
it works,
But
honestly.
but the thing is, I mean, and when we
dude, let me just jump in there and say just one thing.
Yeah, sure.
Chris Hemsworth, you know. So if you read, you
Did
know,
you see his physical reaction to that?
Come on, he's a handsome guy, right?
He's Thor.
But
I don't
anyway,
like Thor.
It's Thor. You don't like Thor, okay? But you know who they called to direct the first Thor movie? It was, you know, this acclaimed British actor Kenneth Branagh. Okay, is awesome. Shakespearean actor, right? Because it's a family tragedy, right? It's a Greek tragedy actually. If you think about Thor, Loki, Odin, and all of that, and that's how they discovered Chris Hemsworth because of his voice. He has a deep voice, like you know, another, right? So he was.
God of Thunder,
it was not.
right?
I mean, of course, he had the right, you know, body for the part and all of it, but it was the voice that made a difference because again, he needed to sound like
Didn't his brothers try out for it too?
I think his brother. I think his brother. No, Liam.
Yeah,
isn't it Liam?
No, I think it was Luke because he was in the last
other one.
Love and Thunder. He was actually playing.
How are you a comic book fan? You don't know what's going on.
Because I don't like Thor.
Yeah,
the only Thor reference that I have here, and I do have, I told you they're very close. The only Thor reference that I have here isn't even from Thor.
He's like inside his bookcase right now.
Don't disrespect my heritage. My last name is Hedlund. You know, I have to like Thor.
No,
That's
you do.
Culture.
I don't. I prefer Loki. Right. That's what I'm saying. Loki is much better. But the thing is,
Loki's okay.
when we're exploring the sounds and only sounds without image, without any visual resources, we're also exploring. We can go from that to, for instance, primary and secondary areas of our brain, because we know that the primary areas are responsible for much deeper or in complex work than the secondary areas of our brain are responsible for not so complex. I'm not going to say simpler, but not so complex work and activities. So that's the whole point of.
Wait, can you unpack that a little bit? Sorry. Go back.
So
go back.
Okay.
Can you just tell? Sorry, like complex. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, I'm trying to make sure that I can. It's mirrored. So let's say. So this is like the primary motor cortex. Okay, primary.
Yeah.
Which means that it does the heavy work when we have to move our body, parts of our body. Now,
is it just physical?
Only part. Yeah. It's
no.
I mean, it's.
It's physical because it's the motor area, but I'm not
exactly.
The difference between secondary and primary and secondary. Every area has well, so to speak. Every area has a primary. I'm
Exactly.
being super simple here, but
We have like a
it's
main
not just
hub, let's say,
yes,
in the
it's not just
brain
for
that
motor
does,
areas. That thing is not just for motor areas. We have several other areas, primary
yeah,
and
we
secondary.
have the auditory cortex, for example, the primary or auditory cortex,
Yeah.
primary visual cortex in the back of our heads.
Okay,
And
okay.
like the
So
main hubs
got it. There's main hubs
doing the
that
processing,
control the
let's say.
functioning, and then
Yeah.
there's secondary that do, because the heavy lifting, we'll say, has been done by the primary. So the rest of that, whatever continuation of that process,
it's for support.
Less complex. Okay, got it. Thank you. Okay, moving on.
Yeah.
That was.
That's why Hannibal's always useful. Yeah.
By the way, I named his brain Hannibal.
Yeah, he named Hannibal.
My credits.
Yeah.
Why? Why Hannibal?
Because of the movie.
The movie Hannibal Lecter.
You have to watch
He
it,
ate.
Kelly.
Yes, Silence of the Lambs.
Silence of the Lambs. Yes. No, I've watched all of them.
Yeah,
so he ate the brain.
Second one, Ray Liotta. Remember, he was the actor who had open brain surgery. Actually, I mean, it wasn't surgery. It was Hannibal Lecter.
He was eating his brain,
feasting on his brain.
And then I said
Hannibal is the one that eats the brain, so the brain isn't Hannibal. The brain should be named some.
See,
no, Hannibal.
The brain should be the brain should be named Ray Liotta.
I went along.
No,
he said it. You know, I'm
gonna
go along with this.
The brain
Who's
is
the
Ray.
genius? Who's the genius? Dr. Hannibal Lecter, not Ray Liotta.
See,
I mean,
Ray
Liotta's
character.
Yeah, it's just a homage, but
it's
that's
Hannibal.
Okay.
Because of Rudy.
Yeah.
See,
so that's the whole point. That's the whole point.
This is
Back
how
to what we were talking about.
goes, by the way. So
that's
how we plan stuff.
Yeah. So that's the idea of the auditory. So, for instance, a primary area is going to do the heavy of an auditory area is going to do the heavy lifting of picking up phonological aspects of a language, intonation, pitches, and then it's also going to send the information to other areas, such as the semantic areas of our brain, because we need to actually, after we do that, we also have to decode or crack the code, if you want. So we have to crack the code, and then it's going to activate a different area, not one at a time. Everything happens simultaneously. I like to say that when we're using languages or when we're exposed to languages, our brains are like Christmas trees and the Christmas lights, because we have a lot of activations in our mind, in our brains.
Definitely.
So so we're going to use several areas of our brain just because we're being exposed to some language and without any image resource or whatever visual resource.
Okay.
So let me call things what they are before you say anything, Kelly.
Go ahead.
Think about showing your students an animation, like an animated video.
Okay.
And then you turn off the sound and no subtitles. They just look at images. And you ask them to, look at it, pair and share.
Yeah.
They probably have a theory of what happened there.
I've done this. Actually, I was going to tell you about a lesson that I did, and I will do it afterwards, but go ahead, keep going.
No, but that's exactly the point, right? So if the images can help them comprehend what's going on, how much of their auditory cortex are they actually using? In this case, none of it. Because they're just relying on their visual cortex, and then images can help you understand what's going on. So are you helping your students practice their listening? And then, of course, with the sound, and then we have something in our working memory that basically we use images and sound to understand the world. And that's called dual coding, right? It has to do with different aspects of our working memory. So we have something called the visual spatial sketchpad that is basically responsible for processing images and space, navigation. And then we have the phonological loop, and then that's for our sounds. And of course, for memories to be better consolidated and to help us remember things more, it's better if we encode things dually. So if we use sound and image. But to practice your students' listening skills, you should not use many images all the time. As a matter of fact, you should probably not use images at all most of the time, because they're relying on their visual cortex, and they can just, if you took the sound off, no sound, they would still be able to understand what's going on, right? So if you want to use a video,
something? Can I propose something to you now?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is what I did with my students. It was quite a few years ago, actually.
Yeah.
There was this movie, and it was Armenian.
I like it.
I found, so I found this clip of this Armenian. It was I think it was Armenian, and there was a Turkish guy in it. Anyways, so it was in this this scenario. There was 3 guys sitting around the table, and they were having conversations, not in English. And so what I did was I played the video with no sound, so that they could just see like what was going on, and they had to try and understand what the relationship was between these 3 people.
Okay.
Based on just body language, everything else. Paralinguistic information. Then what I did was I played the sound, but they don't speak those languages. And what they had to do was they had to develop a dialogue and a backstory based on the tone and intonation and what they heard, but they didn't know the language, but they had to do it in English.
I'm stealing that idea, by the way.
Why don't you do the opposite? Do the opposite.
Yeah.
Instead of showing the image without sound.
Okay, so we can change it now. I'm
change.
thinking.
Just say, guys, you're going
start with the dialogue.
No images, just the intonation, and help them, because once they have the image, they are also going to remember. Like, so they're going to say, okay, minute 105. There's a pitch here, and according to the image, probably that. So they're going to make this. They are going to relate the minute. They are going to cross-reference the whole thing.
But you could reverse it, and then it.
But do the opposite. Look, you're just going to listen to this. It's going to be in a language that you have no idea what it is, probably, because that's the whole point. Yeah. So now I would like you to show us. And you can give them some guidance, or some options, like, okay, argument. They are arguing here. There's argument. I don't know. Father.
They were definitely arguing. It was farmers. Maybe they had guns pulled on each other. It was cool.
Yes. Yeah. Argument, friendly conversation, chit chat, and all these some options. And then you have them say, okay, when do you think this is the chit chat? Oh, here. Why? Because this doesn't. And then this is going, and then you can scaffold the whole thing. This is going to be the basis. And then a follow-up activity would be like, why do you think they are chit-chatting here?
Yeah.
And what do you think? Well, because this isn't. What do you think they're doing while chit-chatting? Oh, they're doing this. They're probably doing that. Because then you are going to explore their mental representation, because they're going to tell what they pictured in their minds while listening to that piece of dialogue over there.
Listen to Rudy; he knows his stuff,
So I wasn't totally off base 5 or 6 years ago. I was kind of going in the right direction.
No, yes, of course.
Yes.
The teachers normally do it the other way around, right, Rudy? So that's the thing. If you're not working with a specific ELT book, let's say, and you don't have access to listening files, for example, the audios and all of that. So you normally go to YouTube and then show your students whatever, real, authentic language. But you never turn off the projector, or, so you show the images as you're playing the listening, the audio along, right? And that could be a problem, because they're looking at the images and then it will stick. They will, like Rudy said, so if they will remember the sequence of images, and then anything that you propose, you can play any sound after that. It could be German, and maybe it could be completely unrelated, but they will think there is a connection between the images that they saw and the listening. So again, it's interesting if you start with just the sounds. So if you are in the classroom and you have a projector or an interactive whiteboard, turn off the projector and then if you're using YouTube or whatever, just play the sound, and then have them write down what they think is going on it could be like a pair share type of activity. So I think they're talking about this, and then after they work out what's going on, then you can show the images to them.
Yeah, and
Oh, this is what's
you
going on,
compare
right?
like
Yeah,
then you make a comparison, and that is you're going to explore their primary areas, because the primary area, as Andres said, is responsible for the heavy duty. So when they are exposed to the language, they have no idea what it is. They are going to receive that phonological set, and then they're going to be that phonological set is going to activate the primary auditory area, because they'll have to try to decode some message that
yeah.
belongs to a language that have no idea. So you see that's precious. Oh, that's beautiful. That's so
That's
beautiful.
precious. Yeah.
That's so beautiful.
It,
Yes, I've been
by the way,
I've been watching a
rings of
lot of,
power.
yes. That's what I
Rings
was
of
going to say.
power.
That's
You were going to say the same thing, right? You were
yes,
going
of
to say the same.
course.
But we
We
have
always
these
do that.
moments.
We
He was
always
going
do
to say
that.
the same thing. Yeah.
We always do
Rings of
that.
You guys have
power.
some
Tolkien.
serious
Yeah.
issues.
Rings of Power is
You're
amazing.
like
It's
Rings of Power is
amazing.
connected,
amazing.
It's
on a
awesome,
different level.
No, but
dude. It's amazing.
no, this is the
I'm digging it. Yeah.
yeah. No, it's
pretty cool. Yeah.
freaking awesome. I mean, I hope
Yeah.
they have like 10
Yeah.
seasons. I'm gonna spend the next.
Numenor.
Man, that's awesome. What
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
the girl that's playing? Oh, what's her name again? The blonde one, the elf,
Galadriel.
Galadriel.
Yeah.
Yes, man,
Galadriel. Yes.
she's a great actress. Great
I
actress.
thought you were gonna say something else, man.
No, I
I
was
mean,
gonna talk
whatever.
about the Rings of Power.
Great
Yeah, no,
actress, quote
she's a
unquote.
great actress.
No,
Um,
She's a
she's true.
great
It's true.
actress.
She's a great actress.
But she,
But but
but
if we
also,
yeah,
no. But if you guys are really interested
yeah,
in analyzing some
yeah,
mainly language, not only language acquisition, but also how language
yes,
is developed. There is a very nice series with Jason Momoa called "See," from
C,
seeds,
yes. Oh
from
yeah, that's a
sight.
good one. I started watching it because of you, actually,
Yeah.
and we haven't talked about it, right?
No, yeah,
We
it's
have
been a
to,
while, right?
we have to plan. We have to plan an
Yeah.
episode on that, right?
We
Yeah.
talked about that, and I was going to tag Jason Momoa to see if you could watch us. It would be super awesome if we had
Yeah,
Jason
sure.
Momoa watching us, and
Yeah, he's
But the
got
thing
nothing
is,
better to do, man.
yeah, of course not. He doesn't. He's a freaking celebrity.
He
I
was,
mean,
he was on an airplane serving water, like bottles of water. Did
was
you
he?
guys see that?
Uh,
He
no.
was the flight attendant, like
Oh,
for a few minutes. Yeah.
good for him.
So you were imagine you're
So
on a
you
plane and
see, he was on
Jason
the airplane
Momoa
just
serves water. Yeah.
serving
he's got time
people.
then,
Yeah,
obviously,
so
Yeah.
he can
apparently.
watch us. But it's
Yeah.
so interesting. There are two, in my opinion. Well, the whole point is that it's an apocalyptic view of the planet. So after
Yeah.
500 years, everybody loses sight. Nobody sees anymore.
Uh-huh.
Nobody sees anymore. So, for
Yeah.
instance, but they still have some writing. How do they do that? So they have like ropes, sets of ropes, and they have uh, big knots, smaller knots,
Yeah.
spaced knots, and
Yeah.
they touch the knots and they read whatever those
It's
knots
kind of like
are all about.
Braille in a way,
Kind of like
the
Braille, yeah,
That's what I was gonna
texture.
say. It's like
but
Braille in
using
a
Yeah.
different,
Yeah.
but
yeah.
Yeah.
using knots. And
Yeah.
if they never saw anything because they
Yeah.
were born, it's not like, oh, they could see and now there was something. No, they were born blind. They never
Yeah.
saw anything. How could they actually understand what those knots were talking about? So if there was a knot or there was a rope saying,
Yeah.
look, there's a visitor coming in 2 weeks, for example, how would they know that? How would they know that a visitor is a visitor? Or how would they know, for instance, look, there was a ball of fire in the sky? How would they know that a ball of fire? How would they know that fire brings heat and all these things? So why? Because they all created that in their minds. Of course, there was no sound involved, but they didn't have the sight, the benefit of sight. So they could still explore only their mental representations of from that. There was also another scene in one of the episodes. They couldn't.
Dude, major spoiler, right? No.
No.
Okay,
It's
okay.
season.
Take it
They're in
easy, man.
season 3. No.
Okay.
One
Yeah.
of the, and there are some very rare.
Okay.
There are some very rare type of people in the series. And why are they rare? Because they were born with sight. They were born with sight, so they are the minority right now in that apocalyptic planet, the apocalyptic Earth. And but they can't read. Why? Because they banned. There are no books anymore. Basically, there are no books anymore, so they can't read.
Just ropes.
Yes, just ropes, and that's it. And canes, because why they have to use canes and all these things.
Well, can I bring that to reality?
No, wait. I'm about to finish my point here.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, but I have a
And
thing.
one of the girls, there are two girls. They can't see. One of them can read, and the other one can't.
Yeah.
And they get involved. They get some sort of. They get involved in a romantic relationship with each other. Sorry, and one of them gives a necklace saying, what was the word? Forever. And the other girl says, what does it mean? She has no idea what forever means.
Yeah.
No idea. What does forever mean?
Yeah.
So, because she had zero basis or mental representation, she had no idea what forever meant.
Some concepts have been lost, right?
She had no idea what it was. So why? Not because they were not exploring their full listening skills and all these things. No, because they didn't have. The girl didn't have the mental representation for that. And again, you can explore that in so many ways. One of the ways is what we were talking about a couple of minutes ago. Just play the sound and all these things. So Kelly, please do the honors.
Yeah. See,
pretend this is your show.
See, sometimes we just go on a
tangent,
right? Like,
No, it's fine. No, I saw like on social media recently that there was this small boy and he was born blind. And what happened was he went to the fire station because he wanted to see the fireman, but obviously he can't see the fire. He wanted to visit. And the fireman was kneeling down and the boy was just using his hands to kind of explore and see in his own way what the uniform was like and the equipment that they were using, and they were talking to each other and he was touching everything. So it just kind of reminded me of like, even though this is post-apocalyptic, like it still happens, so this boy, he doesn't have sight, but he still is able to kind of get some information based on communicating and other senses.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's right. Remember Daredevil, the movie that you didn't like with Ben Affleck? So come on.
Back into the bookcase.
There's an important scene there. Come on. The rain scene. You remember the rain scene, right? Daredevil. So he's scared. I knew you got that. So remember he's blind. And he's kind of like a bat. So maybe he should have been called Batman, to be honest. Like sonar. And, basically the sound waves, hit him. And then he knows where things are. And there's a scene in the movie. And that was the movie with Ben Affleck. Ben Affleck was Daredevil. And I know you didn't like that one. Yeah, it was not the best one. But there's a scene that they are on the roof, I think. Jennifer Garner's there. Elektra is there. And then and he says it's going to rain now because the temperature dropped and whatever. And then she says, so let's get inside, right? No, because I want to see you. Because the rain, the raindrops falling onto her face, create sound waves, and then he can actually see what she looks like because of that. Because so that's the thing. We do have other senses that we can explore.
But there is
talking about active learning.
There is a huge mistake in that scene. Well,
okay.
I mean, there's a huge.
Jesus,
like Ben Affleck. No. There's the whole film is a mistake.
Yeah, I know.
The whole film is a mistake.
come on, Colin
Ben
Farrell
Affleck is
was
not a
Bullseye.
Daredevil, and Jennifer Garner is not Elektra.
What
I
about
mean,
Colin Farrell, Bullseye? Come on.
he's not Bullseye. Seriously, I have several comic books to
Well,
prove
anyway.
that he's not Bullseye and that Ben Affleck is not Daredevil.
Daredevil, yeah.
But
Okay.
there's
Yeah.
a huge mistake. I mean, how can the auditory connect? How can our auditory sense connect with our visual area? I mean,
Yeah.
but because the whole rain created an image, we don't have that. We don't have like I mean, based on
Sonar?
the sounds, and the
We're
sounds are
not
going
bats.
to create.
We have no
we're
sonar.
going to create.
Yeah, we don't have like
an
we're not
outline.
dolphins, bats, right?
That's a huge, and that was one of
Yeah.
the problems. They were, of course, I understand what they were trying to do, but seriously, come on, we're
Dude,
not
We're
stupid.
talking about
can't you-
superheroes. There's no
Can't you
Thor.
just get lost
There's
in
no
the
God of
romance for a
Thunder.
little bit? I mean,
No, seriously,
All
no. I was
superheroes
not
are
interested in
flawed,
romance.
man. Like there's so many plot holes, man, because it's it's science fiction.
And then
It's
you go to the
superhero.
real Daredevil, that Netflix started, and now Disney is going to keep.
That's
You know,
a good one.
they didn't do that. Why? Because that was stupid. That was
Yeah.
really nonsense. I mean, we're not bats. Not even
Dude,
Morpheus.
forgive the
Morpheus, yes,
producers, man.
which was really a shitty movie as well. But he is like a bat. Not even in that shitty movie they did something crazy like that and nonsense like this, because our ears don't have connections with our eyes. I mean,
we can. There's a machine though, you know.
but there's a machine. We need a machine for that.
There was a Rock in Rio happened a couple of weeks ago, right? And then there was a girl who, I think, so basically she's deaf, she's mute as well, and she was brought. I don't remember. There was a famous guy behind the whole thing, and then she was brought from Recife or someplace to Rio, and she was wearing a vest that basically picked up the vibrations from the stage and kind of transformed them into a pattern that she could feel, and it almost like she was listening to the music because of the vibrations on the vest, right? So again, there's technology that we in the future we might have Batman and Daredevils with the technology that is available, right? We can actually make those things true in a way, but I don't know. Dude, I have absolutely no idea when we're going to have a Batman, but it might be possible. If a billionaire wants to spend...
I mean, those MIT geniuses, they can do that. They can build that.
Or an Iron Man, right?
Yes. But the thing is, I mean, we would have to have a machine connecting or auditory senses to the sight senses that we have. So we would be, I mean, but the problem with blind people is that they have a blockage right in the middle of the connection. I mean, how is this signal going to reach the occipital lobe if they have a blockage?
There are ways,
that's the point. And that's why, but of course, I mean, they can't see, but they can still imagine. Yes, they are going to imagine the certain things or whatever they want. But the thing is, they can't actually see. So there's no possibility of sight whatsoever, not even if the rain falls and you can feel, I'm going to see the outlines of the person. No, that doesn't, that's not how it works. Just plain simple.
Can I just it's like herding cats at this point. I have to get you two back on track. All right. So that was a big delineation from where we were going.
Yeah.
Moral of
you wanted the full experience.
I did. It was
you
really
paid for that.
I didn't. I did not pay for this.
No, but you will with drinks someday, right? When we
and we're gonna play the game. We're gonna play the game.
Yeah, I don't want to play that game. You two are scary when you're sober. I can only imagine when you've had a few drinks in you. But kind of wrapping it up, because I know that we've got a time limit here today. Fortunately or unfortunately, I'm not sure at this point.
Well, and your audience is not going to take us for more than 1 hour. I can tell you that.
We have to do little bits of you guys. It's really just kind of, the ideas. No, but I do love it. So though we got really sidetracked, and we can agree that Daredevil apparently is bullshit. One thing that we know for sure is that we need to explore people's listening skills a little bit more. Perhaps removing the imagery from the class prior, so that they can practice and they can create and develop their own mental images and representations, because they probably can do that. And anything else that we should kind of add to this list of suggestions for people?
I would say call things what they are. So if you're playing a video, it's not a listening activity, it's a viewing activity or a watching activity. So if you have a pre-task, while task, post-task, you call them pre-watching, while watching. Unless you do it like we said, no images, and then you just play the audio. And I'm not saying you should completely discard, videos. Use them. But remember, I think as teachers, we have a very important responsibility of helping our students practice their listening skills. And maybe we're not doing that very well, because we just rely on too many images all the time, because, it's the new generation. They need to see something. And, maybe we are trying to do good, but we're not doing so much good all the time, because we're not allowing them to really test their listening skills, right?
And actually, you don't even have to remove the image. Use podcasts. Use podcasts. There are so many great podcasts everywhere nowadays. So use podcasts.
There's one called Real Talk in ELT.
Yes.
And Chá Pedagógico.
Very cool hostess, And Chá Pedagógico.
Chá Pedagógico too, right? Yes. And there's another one called One Pomodoro, right? It's also on Spotify.
Yeah. So
where's Kelly?
I think she gave up on us.
Yes, she ditched us. She was
I didn't mean to.
That's too much. Enough with those.
I didn't mean to. It just popped out. I don't know why. I was just like,
for those
a little
of you
fed up.
Listening, Kelly disappeared for 2 seconds.
I'm back.
She was like, enough with the Los Hermanos guys, because we look like, again. Do you know who Los Hermanos is, Kelly?
Dude,
probably
not even Brazilians know who Los Hermanos is. So I'm pretty sure they're kind of a band, like underground, not underground, but kind of not that famous. But they have one hit, like a one-hit band.
Like one hit. I mean, they had Ana Júlia, and
Ana Júlia was, when I was a teenager,
todo Carnaval tem Sofia is nice too.
Yeah, they play Oh Ana Júlia.
Yeah, that's a shitty song. I fucking hate this
a little bit.
That's fucking.
Dude, it's because they played it so much, but it's a cool song.
Yeah,
come on. When we were teenagers, we loved it.
Yeah, we did. It's true. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. It was really cool. It was really, really, really cool. It was on the radio, and that's why we came up with this whole idea of calling our episode of Chá Pedagógico Radio Gaga. Yes.
And that doesn't make any sense now. Yeah. It was Hitler again. It was the propaganda on the radio. So,
no, because the radio, because it's the whole. You guys have to go back to the beginning. You got to watch it again.
Yeah.
And see, before we got completely nerds here, watch it again. The very beginning, when we were talking about the radio and radio area, radio stations.
No images on the radio.
Yes, and Kelly mentioned George Orwell, right?
Yep.
and War of the Worlds, and so that's why we decided to call it Radio Gaga. This is probably going to be the next
By the way,
episode of Chá
Steven
Pedagógico.
Spielberg ruined it for me, and Tom Cruise, because there's a movie, right?
Yeah, that's a shitty
Remember?
movie.
So you talk about War of the Worlds.
No,
I
that's
think of Tom Cruise nowadays.
No, that's stupid.
A little
That's
more
really
imagination.
stupid. So, guys, we're Jesus. What was I thinking? Use podcasts. Use podcasts with your students. I mean, they are very interesting. You don't have to go through all the hassle of how do I remove the image out of a video? How do I do that? Especially if you're teaching online, and you can have full control of the podcast. You don't have to play the entire podcast episode. You can select a chunk of the episode. Like, I want to play 35 seconds of it. So you can play 35 seconds of it. That's actually why podcasts became so popular. Somehow everything in humanity is pendular. So the pendulum is going back to what the radio era was. So back in the days, we had the radio stations. Now we don't have, we still have the radio stations, but now we have podcasts. So it's pendular. So we're going back.
But you know what, dude? I think we can go back to interviewing people like live. One of the things that I did, and I still love doing that, just have a guest, because like we're doing now. Of course, there's some body language, but almost none really. You can just see our big bearded faces, and then of course you can see our lips moving and all of that. But it's much more, purely listening than when you have moving images, animated. So if you get a guest to join one of your lessons to be interviewed by your students, that's always a great activity, right?
Sure. Yeah. I think we traumatized Kelly.
You didn't. Yep. I loved it. I had to leave for a second just to, but then
we scarred.
That's what that was.
You did it.
We scarred her for life.
No,
I think we're never going to be invited again, dude.
You are absolutely invited back. No, you're absolutely invited back together, Zenius, if you want to come. No problem. But the thing,
come back.
But the thing is, I think it's interesting, and you get inspiration from a lot of different stuff. Like we talked about Hitler at least 3 times, and then 4 now. We talked
about, by the way.
We talked about
Rudy. If you're listening to us, I'm Rudy Mattiello speaking here right now. I haven't mentioned him at all.
No, but it's not like we're idolizing him. It's just we mentioned
for the sake of illustration.
Exactly. So there's a lot of things, and people sometimes need inspiration, or they need create a little creativity and to think outside the box. And listen, I would not have gone as deep into comics as you two did, but sure, it works. It works for some people. So I love it.
Well, thank you for having us. Because
you guys are more than welcome to come back.
Is this?
Yeah. We're gonna cut you off at this point.
And I gotta go too. So
yeah. But
André,
thank you so much.
You can say goodbye, and then I'll say my goodbyes, because I think we scarred Kelly. Let's not scar more people on the way.
I just wanted to tell everyone that we hijacked her show. This is not Kelly. It's not Real Talking ELT. This is Chá Pedagógico, by the way. And we've been planning this for a couple of weeks now. So we're just overhaul the whole thing. It's us now doing Chá Pedagógico here.
That's fine. Next time though, I'm going to put you all on the spot. That's what's going to happen. I'm going to have you again, and I'm going to put you on the spot, and I'm going to ask you some really hard questions.
Okay. That's going to be super cool.
We're going to have to send you some stuff in advance, like what we're going to cover.
No, I'm not going to give you the topics.
Oh, so it's going to be like like Texas Hold'em blinds, like
no imagery, no imagery.
Okay.
In the dark, man.
Yeah, it's fine. We talk a lot, so
But it was really, really cool, really great. Rudy is my brother. Like he says, my brother from a different mother, right? So basically we've been together, and I knew he was going to say rings of power. I knew it. I sensed it,
You guys have a weird romance going on. It's bizarre.
And that's the thing, right? So we come up with those crazy ideas because we have a lot of common interests, and we are both very nerdy.
Yes.
And we
You
watch
are.
the same useless shit, and which is always great, by the way. So we have more creative ideas. Yeah. So I'm glad we got the chance to do that here with
Good. Yeah,
audience.
I'm glad you were here too. It was quite a show.
It was awesome.
So now you say goodbye, Rudy.
Guys, thank you so much. Kelly, thank you so much for having me again. Thank you so much for having my brother here with me. And I'm not alone this time. So and guys, I hope you had a great time and I'm sorry if you got disappointed. I mean, that's how Andre and I, that's how we come up with some crazy ideas. And if you're not disappointed, come on. And if you still have some questions, please don't hesitate. Talk to us on Instagram at Mattiello, at Mattiello Custodia, at EDC Rocks on Instagram. Don't forget to follow Kelly. Probably if you're watching this, you already follow her, but don't forget to follow her. And Kelly, thank you again, guys.
Yes,
thank
and
you so
I'm always
much.
promoting these two. These two are my my nerdy ELT buddies, and I always promote them. So you'll always see me promoting their awesome courses and interesting things, and you can interact with them. They're very kind. They're weird, but they're very, very kind people. So feel free to reach out.
That's all we needed to hear. Yes. That's what drives us, You
guys are bizarre, but
quoting the Netflix show Atypical. No one's normal.
That's right.
So we're definitely not normal.
You guys are definitely not normal. But thank you so much for sharing your brains with us. And I guess we'll see everybody later. Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Bye-bye, guys. Gotta go.
Ready to join the conversation? Head on over to Instagram at Kelly Pennington ELT and send me a message. That's it for now. Take care of yourself, your health, your vibe, and your tribe. Until next time.